Welcome back to the Deep Dive. You know we love a good challenge, and that's exactly what you've given us this time. Fubo TV.
Yeah, real interesting one.
We've got a whole stack of articles here
We do.
covering everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
From their performance, that move with Disney, Hulu plus Live TV,
Big one.
and, well, the question on everyone's mind, what happens next?
Yeah, it's a fascinating case study, for sure. On one hand, you've got Fubo TV, record revenue numbers.
Yeah.
I mean, even achieving positive free cash flow for the very first time. But on the other hand, there are some financial risks there, particularly that debt load.
Yeah, that's something we definitely need to dig into. It really does feel like a roller coaster,
Yeah.
up and down. But let's start with the positives, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
19% jump in revenue to hit $1.59 billion in 2024.
Yeah.
That's not small potatoes, especially for a company that's been, operating in the red for so long.
Right. And while 4% increase in subscribers maybe doesn't sound like a lot, reaching 1.676 million paid subscribers in North America is still pretty significant in a market that's as competitive as live TV streaming is.
For sure. But then we've got that projected dip in subscribers for the first quarter of 2025. What do you make of that? Dropping certain content agreements, like losing those channels, HGTV, Food Network.
Yeah.
Is that a sign of trouble?
It's definitely something to think about. I mean, a Fubo TV, is known for that sports-centric approach.
Right.
And while they do offer, entertainment, news channels, losing those popular lifestyle channels could impact their appeal to a broader audience. So it'll be interesting to see how they adjust their strategy, to counter this.
All right, so that brings us to, I guess, the elephant in the room, the Disney deal. It's not every day a company acquires a 70% stake and merges it with another streaming service like Hulu plus Live TV.
It's bold. And it instantly catapults that combined company into the big leagues. I mean, they're now the 6th largest pay TV provider in North America with over 6.2 million subscribers.
Wow.
So that puts them in direct competition with YouTube TV, which, that's a whole other conversation.
No, for sure. And let's not forget about the content that Disney brings to the table.
Oh, yeah.
ESPN, ABC, SEC Network. I mean, these are powerhouses in the sports world.
Absolutely.
Fubo TV was already strong in sports. This just solidifies their position even more.
Exactly. And that combined company now boasts, this really compelling mix of those regional sports networks, which Fubo TV had already kind of locked in, along with Disney's national sports channel. So for sports fans, this could be huge.
Yeah. I mean, speaking of huge, let's talk about that positive free cash flow.
Yeah.
For a company known for its losses, that last quarter of 2024 was a really big deal. What do you think shifted for them?
It's probably a combination of things. Their revenue growth obviously played a role, but they've also been strategically managing their expenses.
Okay.
Streamlining operations, potentially renegotiating some of those content deals to reduce costs. And we've even seen, price increases for their subscription plans.
So it's not just about selling more lemonade. It's about making sure you're using the lemons you've got effectively.
Right, exactly.
But even with this positive cash flow, can we just ignore those financial risks? Because they are still carrying a significant amount of debt.
No, absolutely. You can't ignore that. And over $340 million in debt, that's a burden, especially when you consider that their market cap is significantly lower. Meaning that they're technically worth less than what they owe. And that's not a great sign for investors.
So is this a case of two struggling companies clinging to each other, hoping to survive? Or is there a genuine path to profitability here?
I mean, that's the million-dollar question. That merger with Hulu plus Live TV, it could be a lifeline, giving them access to Disney's resources and, maybe some financial stability.
Right.
But it's not a guaranteed win. They need to prove they can actually integrate these platforms effectively, attract new subscribers, and most importantly, turn a profit.
Okay, so let's unpack that a little bit. We've got Fubo TV with its strengths in sports, that growing subscriber base.
Yeah.
Merging with Hulu plus Live TV, which, have been kind of struggling despite its connection to the on-demand giant Hulu. What do you think the potential synergies are here?
Well, I think one key synergy is content. I mean, as we talked about, the combined sports offerings are pretty formidable. They've got something for pretty much every sports fan, from those regional networks to those, national powerhouses like ESPN.
But content alone doesn't guarantee success, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen streaming services with impressive libraries struggle, to get subscribers.
Oh, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I think the key here is bundling and creating that seamless user experience.
Okay.
Imagine a package that includes live TV, from the Fubo TV Hulu platform, on-demand content from Hulu's, huge library, and access to Disney Plus and ESPN Plus A. I mean, that's a value proposition that could be pretty tough to resist.
It's almost like they're aiming to be the Amazon Prime of streaming.
Right.
One subscription, a whole world of entertainment.
Exactly.
But can they pull it off? Technically,
Yeah.
Integrating all these different platforms, that's not always smooth sailing.
No, it's not. It's a challenge, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they need to make it, easy for subscribers to switch between live TV, on-demand content, all these different streaming services. I mean, if you have a clunky interface or that navigation's complicated, that could be a deal breaker.
Yeah, for sure. And let's not forget about the competition out there. YouTube TV, still the king of the hill.
Right.
Over 8 million subscribers.
Mm-hmm.
So how can this, this new Fubo TV Hulu entity even hope to compete with that kind of dominance?
Well, it's not going to be easy, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
But, as you said, even Goliath had weaknesses. And while YouTube TV has a strong hold on that, kind of general live TV market, their sports offerings, particularly when it comes to those regional sports networks, don't really match up to what the Fubo TV Hulu platform now has.
So it's really a battle for the hearts and wallets of sports fans.
It is.
But how do they convince those fans to switch, from a platform they might already be pretty comfortable with?
I think it's all about differentiation and adding value. They need to really highlight the breadth of their sports content, maybe offer some exclusive content or features, and just make that overall user experience so good that it outweighs, any switching costs.
Okay, so they've got a game plan, at least in theory. But let's talk money for a minute. Because even with that positive cash flow quarter, those financial risks haven't magically disappeared.
No, they have not. I mean, that debt load is still there.
Yeah.
And if they need to raise more capital, well, that could lead to shareholder dilution, and, investors aren't going to be thrilled about that.
No, they're not. So they're really walking a tightrope here.
They are.
Growth potential on one side, financial uncertainty on the other. What are the key factors, do you think, that'll determine whether they succeed or stumble?
I think execution is paramount. They need to integrate those platforms seamlessly, market those bundled offerings in a way that really attracts people, and keep a tight rein on those expenses.
And they can't really afford to ignore that regulatory landscape, can they?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a merger of this magnitude is sure to attract some scrutiny from antitrust regulators.
Yeah, that's another whole layer of complexity, right?
Yeah.
Regulators are going to be looking closely at whether, this merger, does it stifle competition?
Right.
Does it give the combined company too much power in that streaming market?
Yeah, it's a lot to juggle. But let's zoom out for a second. Consider the bigger picture here.
Yeah.
What does this whole Fubo TV saga tell us about the future of live TV streaming?
I think it really highlights the evolution that we're seeing, happen in this industry. That traditional cable model, it's clearly on the decline, and consumers are embracing those streaming services in droves. But as we've seen with Fubo TV, building a successful streaming platform it's really challenging.
Yeah, it's not just about having the right content anymore.
Right.
It's about managing costs, navigating these complex partnerships, and constantly innovating to stay ahead of the curve.
Absolutely. And I think, as the market matures, we're going to see even more consolidation with just a few really powerful players kind of dominating that landscape. This Fubo TV, Hulu, Disney merger, it's a perfect example of that trend.
So is this good news or bad news for consumers? I mean, on one hand, it could lead to, these more comprehensive streaming packages and maybe potentially even lower prices. But on the other hand, it could also limit choice, right? Stifle competition?
Yeah, it's definitely a double-edged sword. I think the key here is making sure that consumers still have options, and that the streaming market, it stays dynamic, innovative.
Which brings us to that thought-provoking question, that we like to leave our listeners with. We've talked about the potential for these bundled streaming packages. But imagine a future where live sports streaming goes global. A world where fans can access any game, anywhere, without being restricted by those regional blackouts or broadcasting agreements.
It's an interesting thought, isn't it?
Yeah.
A world where sports fans are no longer, chained to those cable subscriptions or limited by by geography.
Do you think that this Fubo TV Hulu Disney merger with, its combined sports content, that global reach, could that be a step towards that future?
It's certainly possible. I mean, Disney's got that global brand recognition,
Yeah.
that streaming infrastructure. And then you couple that with Fubo TV's focus on sports, that could create a really powerful force for, disrupting those traditional sports broadcasting models.
But as we've discussed, there are a lot of hurdles.
Right.
Financial challenges, integration issues, regulatory scrutiny. I mean, these are just a few of the obstacles, that they'll need to navigate.
Yeah, and the competition's not just going to sit around and watch it happen.
Yeah.
YouTube TV, Amazon Prime Video, all those streaming giants, they're all competing for a slice of that live sports pie.
So is this a bold move that will revolutionize sports streaming, or is this a risky gamble that could backfire, in a spectacular way? I guess only time will tell.
Yeah.
But one thing is for sure, this is definitely a story worth watching.
Absolutely. The streaming landscape, it's constantly evolving, and in this Fubo TV saga, it's really just one chapter in a much larger story.
And that's all the time we have for today's deep dive into Fubo TV. Hope you found this exploration insightful, and remember that streaming world, it's full of twists and turns. So keep your eyes open, your minds curious, and as always, keep diving